Greg Garcia here at Anglers All in Littleton, Colorado. I'm going to be tying a fly from Solitude Fly Company called Gabriel's Trumpet. And we'll get started on this right away for you. All right. So we have a 2487 Tiemco hook with and this is a size 14 with a 7/64 tungsten bead on it. First thing we're going to do is put in a little bit of lead wire. This is 0.10. You could also use 0.15, but I'm just going to wrap in about 10 wraps here, maybe 8. Let's see how that looks like. Now I'm just going to break that off. Scooch that into the back end of the bead, and then I'm just going to helicopter that back piece off. And that was about 10 wraps for this particular size hook. If you want to tie these in 12s, you can go up to a larger size bead, of course, and even some heavier wire. This fly is primarily a little golden stonefly. However, you could certainly fish this as a PMD as well, and it'll work very well in both instances. So I just started my thread on the back side of that wire, made a little cone, and then as you saw there, I pulled my thread forward, trapping it on top of the wire. And then I'm going to bring it back and then trap it again going rearward. And that just kind of encases that lead wire so nothing kind of moves around or anything pops or protrudes outward, causing us a problem later on down the road. And then I'm just going to slowly get my thread back, just as if I drop my thread back and the barb of the hook is my reference. So everything's going to my tail will be going downward. Kind of reposition this hook a little bit to make that a little easier. The tails on this fly are goose biots. And if you use something in a tan or a gold or a golden olive, I'm going to grab 2 of those, pull them off, and I usually cut this back little piece off first, and then I'm going to oppose those curves so that they will split away from each other. Kind of even those up. You can see how that looks before we mount those on the hook. And I'm just going to kind of figure out my length of these, about half the length of the hook, maybe a little bit longer. And then I'm going to place those on top of the hook on my side and then make a wrap. These 2-3 wraps are very soft, moving forward. And then once I get those on, I'm going to tighten up. And then I can let go and check and see my length, see if I need to adjust anything. But I kind of like the looks of those. So at this point, I'm going to just move on upwards, trapping both of those biots onto the side of the hook. So I'm going right up to where that lead is mounted. So we have a nice transition on our body. We don't want to have any gaps, bumps. Will make our lives a little easier if I can take care of that right from the get-go. And then let me move my thread backwards and really secure that tail in place. Make sure everything's nice and tight. Still got a little piece of biot there I want to trim out if I can. Wear some really nice tippy sharp scissors, really help. At this point, I'm going to just even up this body so I have a nice little tapered body all the way up through the lead. This part of the fly is almost like as though you're tying a copper john at this point before we start to add anything else. I'm going to reposition this so it's upright. I can continue on tying. I'm going to mount this wire on my side of the hook. Come right back down to where the tail is in. I can come back up very quickly. And then color of the body is gold, as I said, so I'm going to use a couple pieces of gold flashabou. You could use some gold mylar. Either one would work just fine. Do a little pinch wrap there to get that on to the top of the hook. I'm going to come back down. Don't let go of the mylar or this flashabou. Then I'm going to wrap both of these pieces straight up. Oops. Watch that hook point, that can cut this pretty easily. Just take your time, there's no big hurry. You want to make sure that the body is completely covered. We don't have any yellow thread showing. Always like to pull this over, take a look. It looks like there might be one little piece on far side that I missed, so let's just go ahead and undo this. And again, take your time, get everything covered up. Okay, tie that off, recheck. Can now snip that off. Then I'm just going to wrap this wire forward. I'm going to do about 4 or 5 wraps. Should do it. Helicopter the wire, break off. We're ready for the next piece, which is going to be a little slip of turkey tail. Doesn't have to be anything really thick. You know, there might be 4 or 5, maybe 6 little pieces there. I'm just going to cut that off. And then from looking at this, what I'm going to do is flip this over because I want to tie that dull side up, square it off, and then I can lay this right on top of the hook. Give yourself a little bit of that tail kind of protruding out, and then I can pull that slip out of the way. I'm going to go back with my thread so that I'm about even with the hook point. It's going to be our thorax of this fly. Okay. Come back up forward. Then we're going to grab a little bit of, or actually 1 strand of ostrich. I'm going to tie this in at the butt section where this is going to be at its thickest, widest point. Strip a little bit off if you'd like. Then I'm going to wind backwards right up to the wing case. Then I'm going to leave my thread there. Normally we'd advance that forward to get it into position to tie this off. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap this ostrich herl forward. I'm going to go right up to the bead. Maybe even give it an extra couple wraps right there. Maybe one more. It feels a little empty up in there. And then with my thread, I'm going to wind it forward, tying in that ostrich and making it a little bit more durable. And then on that wrap, that tied it in. Now I can cut this off. Next component is going to be a piece of hen hackle. This is a ginger whiting. And you could also use gray if you didn't have the ginger color, but let's kind of keep into this color scheme. What I usually do is take this tip and I'm just going to separate where I want to tie this in. I'm going to lay that in on my side of the hook. Make a couple wraps. Then I like to pull this tip backwards, trapping it in as well. That's just for a little added security. Then I can cut this tip out. If you want to pull this stem upward, you can get a little moisture and fold this hackle back. And I'm going to wrap this soft hackle style. And take about 3-4 wraps. Tie that off. Make sure it's tight. Always pull near your towards your chest to tighten this up. Then at this point, I'm just going to kind of separate these up at the top, just ever so slightly. Pull my wing case forward. Gives the impression of legs. These legs really move in the water. And we're just about finished with this fly. Pull that back, make sure I get that slip tied in nice by folding it back. Don't want that to pop off. After I snip it, I think we can whip finish this. 3-4 wraps should do it. Make sure it's tight. Trim that wing case. There you go. Gabriel's Trumpet. Skip Morse's pattern. It's been around for a while, but it is a fantastic little golden stonefly. PMD, very similar to, I'd say if anybody fishes the Holy Grail, this one kind of made the start there and gave some folks some ideas how to tie that fly. But give it a try, nymph it, swing it, have fun with it. Thanks for watching.